Welcome to another Azzy's Guide for Guild Wars 2. Today we're going to cover the support role of the Thief. Actually, that would be a really short video, which some of you guys might like. So we're actually going to cover some of the other skills and abilities of the Thief besides just their support roles or support powers. In which case, there's 4 utilities that do that. So let's jump over to the skills tools. The reason why I wanted to cover support was a lot of people play open world PvP and they're thinking, what can I do to help my allies out? Would Thief characters or players really do that? I hope they would, because the Trinity has been broken and support is kind of a big deal in this game. Although some classes are built for support while others are not. Thieves, unfortunately, are one of those professions that aren't really built for support. But taking a look at their abilities, Blinding Powder blinds opponents in a nearby area, but it also grants stealth to your allies. Usually when it says it grants stealth or grants some kind of boon to nearby allies, you could grant it to 5 allies. So say 100 of your teammates decide to jump all on your body because there's no collision detection. When you press Blinding Powder, not all 100 will turn invisible. That might be a little bit different with the Mesmer portal, but I don't think it's the same in terms of granting boons to your allies. And of course, stealth is a boon. I don't know if Blinding Powder is the most useful utility skill in open world PvP because short blinds an opponent and it gives you 3 seconds of stealth. It may or may not help, but I don't think it's the most powerful utility. I didn't personally use it. Signet of Agility is a little bit different. Signets, of course, usually grant a passive and an active. In this case, it grants a percentage bonus to crit. And for the active, though, it refills Endurance Bar and removes the condition from all nearby allies. So 5 of your allies, if they have some kind of affliction, like some kind of debuff or condition or poison or something on them, it'll remove it. And you can do this once every 30 seconds, which is really nice. But more importantly, it refills endurance. When your endurance bar is full, you can pull off at least 2 dodges. Usually you get 2 full dodges when your endurance bar is full. With this, potentially every 30 seconds, you could get 4 dodges in a row. Imagine that. It's much more powerful than dodge to get out of those arrow carts or the trebuchet shots or enemy fields or their attacks that they're doing on you. But 4 dodges, that is really sweet. It probably is a lot more effective in structured PvP, but out in the open craziness of chaos of open world PvP, I think it's really powerful. 30 seconds, and it gives you a percentage chance to crit with the increased precision. Probably the most expensive of the utilities, or one of the most expensive of the basic utilities, is Shadow Refuge. 60-second cooldown. It is 7 skill points, and again, you get 1 skill point per level. And if you do skill challenges in the PvE world, you will get skill points. ArenaNet might change this and add more skill points in open world PvP, but they have not said how right now. What this thing does is it drops a dark field on the ground. There's a little house over it, and I think it normally has ground targeting. So first time you press it, there's a little green circle. I don't know because I did fast cast for pretty much all of my attacks, which probably made me suck with ground targeting. But so wherever my mouse was pointing and I press Shadow Refuge, a field will drop there. Any of my allies in there, I guess up to 4, turn invisible. Maybe more than 4, because I remember doing it when we were ramming the doors and stuff, and everyone I think turned invisible, and it caused them to not target the door anymore, and they probably got pissed at whoever thief did that, which they didn't know it was me. It also heals your teammates during that time. I don't know how much it heals. It says 48 here, so I guess it doesn't heal a lot. But I thought that was kind of nice because for me as a thief character, I could run around and drop this every 60 seconds to help my teammates out if they're getting blasted by siege weapons or they're getting wounded, or I see one of my ally guildies getting hurt. I could just run over and drop this on them, and they'll get some health and they'll turn stealth and they will no longer be targeted by whoever is blasting them. I really liked it. The other big utility is the smoke screen for support. I didn't get to test this out, and I kind of wanted to because it states that it blocks projectiles for 7 seconds. Every 30 seconds you could block projectiles for 7 seconds, and this I heard was really effective with the siege weapons. Like it blocks trebuchets and catapults and ballistas. I don't know how true that was. I heard the only weapon that it could not block was arrow carts, and some of the more AoE effect, ground effect ranged attacks that people did, like Meteor Storm or something like that. I need to test it out, but if it could definitely block some of the, if it could block arrow carts, it would be so wonderful to just go in there, pop this thing, go revive your dead, and run out. The thieves do not have like a instant revive power like say the rangers or the warriors. I know these two have it at least, and probably some of the other classes. I actually mapped out a lot of it. I just don't memorize everything. So these, were your four basic utility powers that did offer some kind of support for open world PvP. Now I'm gonna go and cover some of the other things about the thief, and so hopefully I can do this in the next 10 minutes or so. If you want to stick around and listen, I'll show you my build that I played with, and then explain why I did it. It probably is not the most effective build. It's probably a really lame build, but this is the build I like because I suck. First and foremost, I got Spider Venom. It's a poison. Every 45 seconds you cast it, so you could always have this active pretty much, as long as like just constantly try to get it on as much as you want, because the duration is 45 seconds. So even if you activate it and you don't use it, it's still available until your 45 seconds is up, and then you could cast it again. It poisons your foe for 6 seconds, and each poison stacks in terms of duration. So say within your next 5 attacks, if you do 5 attacks in a row against your enemy, you'll have poison effect on them for 60 seconds. And poison is good because it reduces healing. Actually, it won't be 60 seconds because it costs a little bit of time between attacks, right? So you probably get like 20 seconds, 25 seconds of poison on a guy. I really like this because in other MMORPGs, I had the hardest time as a glass cannon melee DPS to kill my opponents who heal, and I probably just suck. So picking some kind of power that gimps their healing really, in my mind, even though if it may not be true, helped me out in killing them quicker. And so I was really aiming for a single target DPS. So that's why I went for Dagger Daggers. I really like Dagger Daggers because of these two powers, and well, these three powers. And well, actually all the powers pretty much. In your most basic attack, your double strike, every third hit on auto attack grants you an 80% chance to cause vulnerability. And vulnerability is really nice because it reduces their defense and it stacks in intensity. So each time you hit them with vulnerability, it minuses 50 more in this example to defense. So second hit would be minus 100, third hit minus 150. The duration won't stack, but definitely the intensity of the vulnerability would stack. And that's how you work down your guys that have heavy armor or heavy defense or keep lords. And so I really like that it's automatically built in. The most OP or thought to be OP overpowered ability is the Leaping Death Blossom because it looks cool. You leap over your opponent, you shoot out all these daggers, and it causes bleeding, and you hit them 3 times. Not great for single target DPS because it's 4 initiative and it hits your target 3 times, but not for that much. I remember when I was just testing out on a door, it'd do like maybe 30 points, 29, 30 points each to the door. Then I would Heartseeker, which is probably the most underrated power for the thief. Heartseeker would do like 150, 160, and depending how wounded your target is, the more damage they take. So once it starts at 50% health, you do a lot more damage. When you hit them when you're at 35% or 25% health, you'll do even more damage. This is like the execute. It's the finisher. You use this to kill your opponents, and it's only 3 initiatives, so you could spam like 3 of them if your initiative bar is at full. And I really liked just using Heartseeker to kind of be my I win button, which wasn't always the case, but to me in my mind I thought it was. I really liked Dancing Daggers number 4 because it cripples. Cripple is really important because I was a very chicken thief. I would pick my targets very carefully. I would pick targets that didn't look like they're big melee armored classes, but instead I'll look for clothies with stabs that were at 50% health, and I'd cripple them. Right after I'd cripple them, I would either shadow step in with the steel, or I would, of course, I'd try to get my poisons up, or I would use Signet of Shadows. I have 10% increase in movement, so I'm faster than most opponents without swiftness buffs. And I will, in this case, I'll blind and immobilize the target. So they're blinded as I cripple, and now they can't move, because then I get range on them. And this has kind of a far range, 1200 versus like the 900, but whatever. I'm doing my math wrong. Once they're crippled, I can then run in closer. Heartseeker leap in. You do like 2 leaps, and you do all this extra damage to them. And I just burn them off with this and the number 1 attack. If things look kind of hairy, I'll Cloak and Dagger. I could also Cloak and Dagger while in there, just so I could get the backstab. When you're stealth, your number one attack turns into this thing called backstab, and you do basically double damage. And there's certain utilities that kind of help you with that. I'm not going to go into sword and dagger, except just that sword gives you a lot more mobility. It's kind of hit and run with the infiltrator strike. You could test it out yourself. I used a lot of pistol, which was, in my opinion, single target DPS for range. Number 2 does this vulnerability shot. Number 1 is a bleed, which is really nice. But I usually always started with number 2 just to give them vulnerability. You could daze them with the headshot. You could blind them if you want. And I guess this blinds a whole bunch of enemies. And it creates a smoke field if you're doing like the whole combo thing. I really like to unload on my enemies for 5 initiative. I don't really know how much damage this did. I just thought it did a lot because you're doing like this John Woo double pistol shooting action, and it looked really cool, and I thought it was the most awesome attack animation, but it might not have been. The bow, it was actually a lot better in terms of mass open world PvP because it did a lot of AoE attacks. The number 1 did basic 3 target hit, which really shocked me in PvE because I did it and all these mobs started charging me. I'm like, wait, I was just targeting one guy. Never mind, I messed up. Number 2 is cluster bomb. You shoot an attack, and then if you press 2 again, it blows up. And it's kind of cool because for when it blows up, if it blows up close enough to the target, you could inflict multiple hits on the same target. So what I was hearing, but I never got to test it out myself, was people would run into the midst of, like a target, single target or whatever. They just spam the 2. They could pull 3 hits off if they have their initiative at full, and that does 3 hits. 3 times 4 hits, that's 12 hits. So you do 12 hits against an enemy, and you bleed them, and that could be really devastating. Sabling shot in like as much for PvP because when I crippled someone, I wanted to chase and kill them, not leap away from them. But this is really good for cutting like guards or PvE targets, and or players that are really big and dumb and they just run after you, which most players didn't really do that. Choking gas was good because you drop the poison field, and again, poison reduces healing, and anything that reduces healing in my book is a win. The infiltrator arrow, I didn't think it was too good. I didn't like the shadow steps outside of the stealth one. One of my guildies loved it because he could use this to get away in combat and run away faster. How I ran away was I would use I would just go up to a target and cloak and dagger it, and then I'd drop my healing, and then I'd drop the shadow refuge, and then if I'm being chased, I'll drop the needle trap and run some more. And so I was kind of like really chicken in that way. Steel was kind of helpful because even though you grab a random power that some characters will have, and once I probably get to know the game better and know which class grants you what kind of power, that'll be a lot more useful. But what I did was I used it primarily for Shadow Step. Once I got in, I'd fight. But if my initiative bar went low, I would then use Steel and then use that free special attack on them. Some other utilities I want to point out. I use Scorpion Wire, like this is Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Come over here. You throw this wire out and you pull him to you. I thought it was going to be great, but it was not nearly as effective as, say, like in Star Wars, The Old Republic. My Inquisitor could do this pull move, and it was a lot more effective. The main reason being was sometimes it missed, but that might not have been the main reason. Main reason was when I'm below a target or above a target, say I'm on the ground and all these guys are taunting me on the wall, I throw the Scorpion Wire up there, no effect. They don't get pulled down. I'm on the wall and I want to pull an enemy up to me. I try that. Not that effective. So I didn't like it as much. The Assassin's Signet is really good if you want to do a backstab attack paired with the active. 150% damage. That was really nice. Same thing with the Shadow Trap. A lot of people didn't know how to use this, but an online YouTube video showed that this guy would drop it, and then he would then warp behind the guy pursuing him, because this returns you to where the trap was set. And then he would stealth, do backstab 150% damage, plus the Assassin's Signet for another 50% more damage. And it was pretty devastating, the way he was using it. I didn't really try out the poisons or the Sector Thief, and definitely I didn't get to the elite skills. I liked the Needle Trap. It always helped me out when I was in a bound and running away. But that's pretty much it for this guide.